for joining us. We're here. It's episode 10.
10. Yeah, that's right. Yay.
Y'all are listening to Thanks We Hate It, and I am Hannah Lehman.
And I am Mickey Adkins.
And you're here, and
Yay.
We got a disclaimer to start off with.
Yeah. Actually, we have two today because we have kind of a general trigger warning on the episode for all the things, and also a bit of a disclaimer because we've recorded this once already, except that I wasn't recording the audio, so we're redoing it.
We were both quite sad yesterday because we recorded, we spent pretty much our entire workday recording, trying to get ahead. We recorded 2 episodes. We were on the phone, or we were recording for like 4 hours between, you know, all the in between and chit chat and breaks and stuff. And then poor Mickey didn't have, something went awry. We had some technical difficulties. So that being said, we don't even remember what chit chat we had for yesterday. So I think we're just going to get right into it because we have a pretty long, heavy topic today. I feel like the trigger warning goes without saying, though. I don't think we need to be like super reiterated a million times. So just a blanket trigger warning for all of the things. If most of you probably know what's going on or have heard of the Colleen Ballinger situation. I mean, child grooming, abuse,
all the things.
What else?
Like
all
ED stuff,
the
body checking stuff, abuse of power, racism also now.
Ableism. All of the things. So
all bad.
If that's not the best episode for you to listen to, then we will not have our feelings hurt. If you want to just catch us next week, when we'll have a much more lighthearted topic. To talk about. So 2 topics next week to talk about. This is not the podcast that we're going to like talk about every little detail about what Colleen did. And our present to you today is that we will not play any of her non-apology song for you, because I'm sure most of you have it stuck in your head anyway. Don't worry. None of that will be included. But we are going to go into this assuming that everybody has a basic knowledge of what's going on. And if you have no idea what we're talking about, if you don't know who Colleen Ballinger is, we'll link some videos down below that do great deep dives. I watched Swoop did a 2.5 hours some documentary
so good
on it, the whole situation. She did a wonderful job. She always does. And then I watched iNabber's 3.5 hour video on it. And then you suggested what did you suggest?
The H3 podcast. There was like a really cool explainer that they did where basically they were explaining it to Ethan on the podcast. So it's a nice summary of everything. So we can link those.
So if you have no idea, but you're interested and you want to go watch some of those resources and then come back and listen to our reactions so that you can kind of pretend like you're in the room with us, chatting with us about it, because that's kind of how it feels, then feel free to do that. But if you're aware of the situation and you want to just hear our opinions and some ranty rants, that's what we're doing today.
That's what we're doing. So that's what we're specializing in this space, you know?
Ranty rants. And then Mickey, my understanding was that you were doing a video on this for your main channel too, from a therapist point of view. When's that coming out? Before this comes out, probably.
I think it should be out already at the time that this goes up, which I'm mostly just addressing the non-apology song. I don't get into any of the allegations because I think we talked about this too for this episode, just that like, first of all, the history of the allegations is extensive, you know, like there's so much to cover. And also, like there was a 3.5 video by iNabber on it. Like we're not gonna, and also too, I feel like every day there's new stuff coming out, and so it's almost like impossible to fully encompass everything, because then by the time this goes up, there will be new allegations and new revelations that folks have had. So it's just a lot, you know.
I am excited to talk to you about it because it is, I feel like you talk about it from a therapist point of view on your main channel, and now we get to just kind of talk about it from our our just like basic human reactions to it.
Yeah. I'm also curious to know, I'll ask you about this later, but I'm curious to know like what your predictions are for the future, because I don't think we even got into this yesterday, but I'm curious what your thoughts are, especially because we are both influencers, like just trying to assess from, you know, far away what she's going to do and like what this is going to look like in a couple of months, you know?
Yeah, I have thoughts on that.
I do too.
Oh my gosh, where do we even start?
I know. There's a lot.
Winnie's sitting on the floor next to me.
Oh, is she being cute?
She's been so scared of coming in this room because I've been like doing all this setup stuff because this is my new studio.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that she's sitting next to me down on the floor.
She's settling in.
She's finally
also
settling
too,
in.
Congrats on your new studio space because it looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And it's so exciting to just have like dedicated space for equipment and all of the stuff.
I have like all my lighting and all the camera stuff set up, and I barely have to move anything when I'm done recording. So
I love that for you.
That's very exciting. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Where shall we even start? So a list of all the things, like, again, we're not getting into the details, but just like a general list of all the things that Colleen Ballinger is currently being accused of.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll start with the biggest stuff. I do, you know, we already talked about this a little, but I do want to be clear. If there are allegations that we don't mention today, it's not because we don't care or because like we don't think they're worthy of talking about. There's just literally so many things that it's hard to keep track of. I think the thing that's most notable that people are talking about right now is the grooming allegations, because Adam McIntyre, since 2020, has been kind of at the forefront of exposing Colleen's inappropriate behavior in like DMs and group chats with her underage followers, and just like the types of things that she's sending people, or was sending people, I guess, allegedly. But yeah, that seems to be like the big one. There are also allegations about her live shows and the way that she's conducted herself with underage fans at those events also.
I mean, they're allegations, but there's also video footage of them. So like...
Yes, actually, that's another like important disclaimer. We're going to use the word like allegations and allegedly just
to protect us.
Yes.
I was just going to say, but we believe the victims.
Yes.
Like, we don't believe Colleen. We believe all the victims in this scenario, but we say alleged because on the 0.0001% chance that this stuff was all photoshopped or edited or something, and it's all not like, and all these people are somehow, you know, that we can't get sued. So,
exactly.
Or we're protected if we did get sued.
Yeah.
So but to be clear, like, we say alleged, but we believe the allegations are true.
Yeah, those are the big ones. Do you want to cover some of the other either smaller stuff or like the new stuff that's come out?
I was going to tell you the newest thing that came out about the Beyonce dance thing. I did watch I saw a clip of it yesterday after we recorded this the first time, because Philip DeFranco covered it, and I usually watch his daily news dives. And I did see the video, and he talked about it. And the defense that some people were saying for Colleen for that was that it wasn't that she like purposely put the paint on her face, but her face was green paint because she was doing like a Wicked bit from earlier in the show, and she had only a few seconds to change. And so she like left some of the paint was left over on her face for the Beyonce bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? I don't know how I feel about that.
I still feel like I don't understand why, like, what you were thinking.
Yes.
Like, why would you not, do the Beyonce bit first then.
Yes.
Where you're not, when you don't have anything on your face. Or going out and doing a Beyonce bit, even with that context.
Yeah.
I still don't understand, like, why you wouldn't think that was, like,
problematic or potentially a fucking issue. Like, even if only from an optics perspective, like, that seems like kind of a fucking bold move, you know?
Yeah. It just kind of seems like an excuse to me.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems kind of like, I just don't really understand how you could full on chest out, go out on a stage with paint on your face.
Yes.
That would look dark from a camera's point of view, like from anybody filming it from the audience. See, my understanding is that parodies like that are fine in general if you don't do blackface. Like, I mean, I think it's okay that people dress up as somebody for Halloween and stuff if you're not being racially insensitive, but I don't know that much about it. Do you think that's okay still? Like, do you think the Beyonce bit would be okay if she didn't have anything on her face, she was totally white, and she was just like making fun of, she was just dancing kind of like Beyonce? Like, or do you think that in general has racist undertones?
Yeah, I was going to address that because I think there is kind of a gray area there in the sense that, like, for the dance that she was doing specifically, like the single ladies dance was like a thing. I remember that being like a thing, kind of like TikTok dances are now, where like people had memorized the choreography from the music video. And so it was kind of like a thing, like people would play this at their weddings and like at prom and like whatever, you know, and people would like know the dance moves from the music video. So like whatever.
Right.
Like personally, if it's me, I would feel very uncomfortable imitating
me too.
art that is made by especially Black people, but just like people that are not from my own culture. Like I would feel uncomfy doing that. I think whether it's like a cancelable offense is different.
Yeah.
But still.
I mean, I could see like me as the palest of pale people learning the single ladies dance and doing it with friends, like just as a TikTok or something.
Yeah,
that's like choreography though. Like dressing up like Beyonce, I don't know.
Yeah, that starts to feel a little weird.
Right.
And I feel like especially the Halloween thing too, because like there are 73 billion other things that you can dress up as. Yeah. You know,
that
even
would
if
be
you
funny.
Like really want to dress up as a celebrity, like again, there are 73 billion other celebrities that share your skin color that you can dress up as. So just like do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
It gives me very like Michael Scott vibes when he's imitating Chris Rock and he's like unironically like trying to do it in the show. And it's like he doesn't think he's like being racist, but like everybody is like cringing around him.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives me like that sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not like necessarily malicious, but it's still
racist though.
Just racist, right?
Yeah.
And there's not really an excuse for that.
No.
Like,
the other thing too, actually, that I was thinking about is that like even if we are, you know, if like choosing to write off the green face paint as like, okay, whatever, this wasn't blackface, that, you know, was not the way that all went down, okay, like sure, but also like she did put a video up on her YouTube channel of her imitating the Gangnam Style dance, and the lyrics to that, which comes off as very racist,
like with the accent.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
And there was also an interview that came out from somebody who I guess like worked production or was like an assistant or something for the show that she did on Netflix. This woman did an interview. She's a Black woman, and she did an interview about how Colleen has said stuff to her directly that felt very racially insensitive and that felt like she was enjoying making this woman uncomfortable. Colleen enjoyed making this woman uncomfortable. So like to me, just like all of it in context feels like, okay, fine. Like maybe you get like an out for like the single ladies dance, but like I feel like there is still kind of a demonstrated pattern of behavior, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Kind of like who cares in the like whether it was blackface or not.
Yeah.
Because she's still shown racist tendencies for a very long time.
Yeah. I'm not really buying that there's no racial ill intent there, you know?
And Colleen is really good at pretending like she is aware of all these things.
Yes.
Like with the body positivity thing, she'll pretend like she's body positive and all bodies are beautiful and stuff, but then she does these like very aggressive things over time, and that seems to be like the racist thing too, where it's like she pretends, like in her apology video in 2020 she talks about the Latino but her making fun of the Latino women, and she apologized for that and was like, that was so stupid of me, I never should have done that, was terrible, blah blah blah. But then it's like she keeps doing this stuff after that, and it just seems like she doesn't actually care. She just knows what everybody wants to hear.
Yes, which is a
Until
problem.
now, I guess.
I feel like especially after watching her apology video, her shitty song, it does convey that vibe. Like this attitude that like it almost, because we kind of talked about this before, but that like when I first saw that apology or that video, I guess, my initial impression was like, oh, okay, like Colleen is sick and tired of like people canceling her and like yelling at her and whatever. And so this is her way of like leaving the internet in a blaze of glory with like a big double fuck you to everybody on the way out. And then like she'll just leave the internet. She'll never come back. Like I thought this was her making a conscious attempt to fucking burn it all down. But I think now after like watching the whole thing and like, you know, looking at it with a more discerning eye, I do think she really is just like resentful of the fact that people are holding her accountable, and that it almost feels like the mask has kind of slipped a little. Like she was really good at doing this thing where she says the right stuff in her apologies and like goes through the motions to get, you know, the people off of her back, and then would go back to doing the same behavior. And so now there's like this resentment about like having to have worn this mask this whole time. You know, that's the way it feels to me anyways. What are your thoughts?
I think what's really interesting is that Trisha, according to Trisha Paytas,
yes,
Colleen sent her a link to the video when it came out to like be like, look, Trisha, as like, if she
what
thought.
The fuck?
So I think like what you just said is like we almost thought that she was trolling us, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
It almost seemed like she was like, she knew that there was no coming back from it. Mm-hmm. So she was basically like, I'm not apologizing.
Yeah.
Then I'm over anyway. So what's the point of actually trying to heal anything for my victims? Like, all of that,
which is selfish, like, to be clear, but still, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not diagnosing, but people are definitely comparing her to having some negative narcissistic traits.
Yeah.
Or patterns. I don't know her, but I would agree that at least she's exhibiting some forms of what could be seen as narcissism. I know I said that in a really complicated way, but I just want to be careful to not label anybody because I'm not their therapist.
I think at the very least, like her behavior seems super self-obsessed and like very committed to centering her own emotions and very committed to viewing herself as a victim, which is a trait and a behavior that's sometimes shared by people who are abusers or people who are narcissists and like haven't received any treatment to like unlearn those problematic behaviors. So I hear what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. Like this stuff is definitely going in line with that. So we were thinking like, is she trolling us? Like, is this a joke? Like, is she actually like know that everybody's going to hate this, but she doesn't give a fuck because she wants the last word and she wants to go out the way with control. She wants to go out in control of the situation.
Yeah.
But then hearing that she allegedly sent this to Trisha makes us think like that seems like a behavior that somebody would do if they thought they, you know, like they really did something. Yep. Like they were like, oh, people are like, she thought that people were going to be on her side. At least a lot of people were going to take this. You know, do you think that like sending it to Trisha shows that? Because that seems like she was trying to say like, see, Trisha, I am your friend.
I think
watch this and you'll feel better about me.
The thing that especially confuses me about her sending this link to Trisha Paytas is that it's part of like a larger story, I think, of like why I'm confused about the way that she's behaved. Because to me, like her sending this apology to Trisha, it does kind of convey that vibe, like you were saying, as almost as if to say like, see, like I am like doing the thing, like this is all going to get better, or like, ha ha ha, isn't this so funny?
I'm a good person.
Yeah, but especially with the allegations about what she's done. For those of you who don't know, there are allegations, I guess, and like pretty credible proof. There's screenshots to support the allegation that Colleen accessed Trisha Paytas's, it's essentially like OnlyFans content. It was like on Patreon, I think, before OnlyFans was a thing. But it was like
her sex work.
Yes.
That was behind a paywall for people.
Yes, for people 18 and up.
For adults.
Yeah. But she accessed that content and then would send pictures of it to minors in her group chats for the purpose of making fun of Trisha Paytas's body. So like, this is literally fucking illegal. But B, this is like obviously unethical and immoral and just like really fucking mean. But like her sending this link to Trisha is so confusing to me because like, did she really think that no one would spill the beans? That like, that Trisha would never find out that Colleen had been actively making fun of her behind her back and like weaponizing Trisha's naked body and like, you know, like exploiting that material. Like, did she really think
she could just say it's out of context? It's out of context.
Yeah. Like, did she really think that sending this apology video to Trisha would be like all done? All that Trisha's going to watch is my apology video. There you go. Yeah. I've given it to you. And like, that's it. We can call it a day, everybody.
And
like,
Trisha's
was that
just
really
going to look at it and be like, oh, thank God this was all misinformation. Yes. Oh, it's just toxic gossip.
Yeah.
Oh, phew. Thanks, Colleen. Okay, let's go back to our podcast.
That's kind of what my impression is. I wonder if she really thought, oh, I'll just send Trisha the apology directly because like, haha, aren't I funny? Look at me standing up to the haters. And also then Trisha will understand. She'll get it now, finally, after watching my so eloquently put apology. And then everything will just go back to normal. Because if that's the case, that's just like on a different planet, right?
That's delusion. That's straight up like in your own world.
Yes.
Out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Trisha's response really quick? Because
and just to be clear, we're not like looking past Trisha's past actions and like the really problematic behavior there. I think there's that's a whole separate podcast. But I do feel like it's worth noting that in this situation, like I'm just fucking mind blown that in the year 2023, the thing that's unfolded is that Trisha has made the most eloquent and respectful and like appropriate response to a really shitty situation, and that the internet is like responding well to that. Like that's crazy to me.
Right. Like that's definitely not something we had on our 2023 bingo card. Is a respectable response from Trisha just based on the way Trisha has responded to things in the past.
Yeah, for Trisha Paytas to be the hero of a situation.
I just thought it was really, I mean, honestly, for lack of a better word, it was beautiful the way Trisha said in their video that she said, I'm not embarrassed about the photos. I'm not embarrassed for me. I'm embarrassed for Colleen.
Yeah.
And that was so, I mean, I'm sure because Trisha's been a sex worker for quite a while, is my understanding. I think that's how she makes the majority of her living now. And so I think she is just so upset that it was put out, whether it was her fault or not, which it wasn't, that it got put to minors, that it got sent out to minors. And Trisha apologizes in that video to Adam for the photos getting to him and how she was like, that never should have happened. I'm so sorry. And Adam, who's 20 years old, he is so young, and he is blocked on social media by Trisha because Adam has tried to warn Trisha in the past about Colleen, has been telling Trisha that Colleen has sent explicit photos of her and that they made fun of her behind her back, was trying to warn her. And of course, Trisha did not like that, and so blocked Adam. And even with that, though, Adam was still so nice to Trisha in his video. He was like talking. I just thought it was so mature. I kind of told you this yesterday, but like so mature that he was saying like, she's being so calm and lovely and put together, not that, but he was also like, but if she wasn't, I don't want to tone police, like if she wasn't, it would be totally understandable, but still, like, just the way that she's handling this is just so amazing. And he was like telling her over and over in his response that it wasn't her fault, and that she did nothing wrong in this situation, and just the fact that she could not believe him in the past and block him and not listen to what he's telling her. And for Trisha, for all that, and Adam to still make this really kind response to Trisha's video is just like, Adam is also the hero in this
well, and
situation.
I feel like it's such a noteworthy thing too, because people have really tried to defame his character and like question his intentions, and like people have really put this, at the time he was a child, through the ringer for, you know, like speaking out against this big creator. And I think the way that he responded to Trisha in being so validating and like supportive and like honoring of Trisha Paytas's feelings is like an indicator, you know, of like the level of maturity and the level of empathy that he possesses, you know. Clearly he's not this person who's just like going scorched earth just to do it like for the fuck of it, you know. Like I just think that's important to note, because he has really been on the receiving end of a lot of bullshit from the internet.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of his maturity comes from, well, and I mean, he just naturally is like more mature, but I don't want to say like that in a sense that he has to be, or that 20-year-olds have to be. Like,
no, of course, because that's not,
yeah, like I don't want to like tone police him either. But I would understand if Adam was equally mad at Trisha for not believing him. Like I think that would also be a very valid response.
True.
It's just kind of like giving him credit for that, for still having so much empathy. And I think a lot of that is because he started talking to Colleen when he was 13 years old, and he came out with these allegations in 2020 when he was 17 years old. God. And he got so much hate from Colleen's army.
That's crazy.
That I think he, to be able, I'm sorry, but if I got that much hate after saying something true,
I know,
I would have crawled in a hole and wanted to die.
I would have been
and
so mad.
Adam not only pushed through it, he stood by himself. He stood his ground. And he continued to make videos, and he continued to be a commentary channel. And that's just incredible to me. Can we talk about 2020 for a minute?
Let's.
So for context, people, so like I said, Adam started talking to Colleen at 13 years old. And Colleen at this time was in her late 20s, early 30s. Like she's a few years older than me, and I'm 32. So talking to children. And he came out and made a video about Colleen, saying, Colleen Ballinger, stop lying. And he was 17 years old at the time, so still a minor when he made this video coming out and saying these allegations against Colleen. So started talking when he was 13, joined a group chat where there was other minors, where Adam has said there's like 10 to 13 people in this group, and the group was called Colleen's Weenies. And Colleen would chat with people in this group, asked Adam one time said that his ass looked really good today. Again, he's a child. Like, that's not a weird thing to say in a group of teenagers. And he was just like, guys, my ass looks so good today. And Colleen responds, pics, Adam. Disgusting. What? Okay.
Anyway, I feel like there's a whole
it.
conversation to be had there about like what the fuck a 30-year-old woman is gaining from having chit chat with a bunch of 13-year-olds, because like, what the fuck is that? Like, I don't understand
appropriate chit chat.
Still
even
weird.
Like if she didn't say anything explicit to them, why are you in a group chat with children? That's weird. That is weird behavior, Colleen. Like even if you weren't doing anything inappropriate and just having like, that's weird. That is so weird. Why would you want, like, what do you relate to with children?
That's
like, why do you want to talk to them? I don't, like, even when I was 20, I would look at a 17-year-old and be like, they're a baby. Like, when I was a baby still,
also, like,
I would be
we
like,
have nothing in common. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, when you're that far removed, it, like, what the fuck am I going to talk to a fucking 13-year-old about? Even a 17-year-old or 18-year-old or 20-year-old, like, what do I have in common with you? Like, I have a whole ass husband and a career, and like my life stage is so different than yours. So like, what the fuck or what are we even talking about? Like, there's nothing for us to talk about because we have nothing in common. And it's not that like there's anything wrong with being 13 or 18 or whatever. That's just like a very normal developmental stage. But like, I don't relate to that anymore. So I just don't understand what the fuck she was doing, like, why is that at all enticing to her?
Yeah.
That's like a serious red flag, in my opinion.
All of those kids are going to be like so excited to be talking to their idol, to a celebrity that they have this parasocial relationship with, and that they're going to do that. I think she knew that she could take advantage of the fact that they would do anything for her.
Yes.
And it worked, and they did.
Yeah. So it's just crazy to me, too,
there was
because
nothing weird said. It's still weird.
It's just especially crazy to me, too, because you and I have talked on this podcast in the past about how we are so grateful for our friendship because we knew each other as people before our channels blew up, and how, like, even now making friends with other influencers can be complicated and can be emotionally a little bit tricky, because it's not quite as simple as just relating to a person on a person-to-person level, you know? And so even, I mean, and that's just like in the context of being friendly or like forming a friendship with another adult influencer who in theory has like equivalent levels of power with you, right? I just can't imagine thinking like, oh, this is perfectly okay and perfectly ethical behavior to not only be forming a friendship with a child who, like, there's a power imbalance already because I'm an adult and they're a child, but also a child who worships the ground that I walk on because they're obsessed with my content. Like, in what world does that not ring alarm bells for someone as like, maybe this isn't safe for them. Maybe this isn't an appropriate behavior. Right. You know?
Right.
It's just wild to me.
And I think we also, you know, and we also acknowledge that it's not like a 17-year-old like sent you a DM with some fan art. I've had that happen. I don't know how old they were, but I might have. I think I've had underage kids send me like fan art that they made of my channel, and like it's not weird to respond and say, oh my god, I love it, can I share it on Instagram, this is so pretty, thank you so much. But then that's it. You don't keep engaging in conversation with them. And I just want to make that distinction that it's not like you can't acknowledge fans and like say thank you and like you can't control the age of all of your fans, even though I know she knew her fans demographic, but like, and I know our fans demographic are generally adults, but like you can't control the age of every fan. I get that, but to actively seek out pseudo friendships with these children, and then so then the other stuff that she said in the text were things like she asked everybody if they were virgins. She asked what their favorite eschwal position was. She asked the girls in the group what their experience was with their first period. Just all of this stuff that even no adult has any business asking a child, period. Like, if a parent might talk to their kid about having their period, but would a parent ever ask their kid about a sexual position?
Hopefully fucking not.
Yeah, like that's a boundary that no adult should cross with a child. And it's just
because also too, like 13-year-olds most often are not thinking about that, right? Like, it's not very common for 13-year-olds to be having sex often enough that they're forming opinions about a favorite sexual position. Yes. And so like that's not even a conversation that should even enter into someone's mind as a thing to talk about with a 13-year-old, you know? Like that's just not a thing to talk about.
Right.
It's just
weird. Then Adam talked about that in his 2020 video when he was 17 about this group chat. He also came out and talked about the underwear that during, you guys all know the underwear incident. Colleen sent him, they were not used, they were brand new from Forever 21.
Still weird, to be clear.
But yes, we'll get into it. Bra and underwear that she was giving away stuff from a live stream, and then she claimed that Adam was quote unquote begging her for these underwear. But did you hear the context around that from Adam's point of view?
Yeah, I watched the video.
How it wasn't actually the underwear. She promised to send him a letter in the mail with the underwear that was written by her. And so he knew that was coming. So that's why he went back and asked for it. But even if he didn't, even if there was no letter, that's still like, even if he begged and pleaded for it, it's still your responsibility as an adult to not do that.
And as the content creator, like, It's your job to be mindful of the boundaries with your own audience about how like accidentally misusing or intentionally misusing that relationship and that power imbalance could harm them. You know, like even if Adam, like you were saying, was begging her to send this just because he wanted her underwear, it's her job as the adult and the content creator to be like, actually, no, that's not appropriate. That wouldn't be safe. I'm not going to do that. You know?
Yeah.
There's just not an excuse for that.
It's right. And that's what I want to tell Adam, though, is that like, because he always feels like the need to defend himself with the context and be like, no, it wasn't even the underwear. It was the letter that she was going to send me, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell Adam, even if you were calling her 10 times a day and begging for it, she should have literally blocked you in that case. Like, I mean, there's no reason that she should have. It's not his responsibility.
No.
To know. Okay. Anyway, so he like comes all this out in 2020. And I do want to also, I mean, a lot of people, this is an obvious point, but it's not so obvious to a lot of people because there's still people defending Colleen. And I think it's important to point out the fact that take all that stuff we just talked about, the group chat, the underwear, all the weird stuff. Yeah. Bundle that together in a ball. And reverse the roles. Imagine a 30-year-old man sending those text messages to a group of underage girls that were 13 to 17.
Yuck.
And would you still be defending her at that point?
Yes,
I think
exactly.
I know the answer. The double standard in this situation.
Yeah. She doesn't get a pass just because the genders just so happen to be reversed.
Imagine a 30-year-old man asking a 14-year-old girl what her favorite sexual position is, and people not freaking like, no matter what your defense was, people would be like, you're a perv.
That's weird. Yes. Like that's so wholly inappropriate.
So with that, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What happened in 2020? Because I have this really, I can't imagine how Adam feels, but I am so angry and enraged at the fact that nobody believed him and everybody hated on him in 2020 as the child. And I do want to say, I have to say this, but like, I didn't know who Colleen was in 2020. I had no idea. I know. Everybody thinks that's so weird. Like maybe I'd seen her face before. Yeah, and I like vaguely recognized her, but I did not watch Adam's video at the time. I had no idea any of this was going down. I like to think that I would hopefully have been on Adam's side if I had known. But then you told me yesterday, which like I was like, what? That you were actually working on a video in 2020 about Adam and responding to that. Yeah. And you were like, what the hell? Why is everybody just on? Because if you don't know, the backlash against Adam was severe and swift. Colleen sent her people after him and everybody was on her side, including big creators like Kendall Ray and James Charles, who
Kendall Ray has since apologized.
Kendall Ray has DM'd Adam privately and apologized to him, and she has apologized publicly. Yeah. And to be fair, but still, what the fuck happened? Why did this happen? And what were you going to make your video about that didn't end up?
Yeah, from what I remember at the time, don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of really severe backlash against Adam, but I do also remember a fair amount of people demanding that Colleen address the situation because she did the same thing then that she did this time, where she waited weeks to address it. And so I remember seeing on like commentary channels and stuff that there was, talk about the allegations that Adam had made and that Colleen was not addressing it. So on her daily vlogs at the time, if you sorted the comments by new, people were leaving comments being like, why aren't you addressing this? When are you going to address this? Like, you need to talk about it, and kind of badgering her into it. But at the time, I was planning on making a video talking about Colleen's response to the whole situation. because when I watched her apology after it finally came out, there was like a distinct feeling of like ickiness that I had, because at that time too, it did kind of come off as like an anger almost, or like a resentment towards the fact that she had to address this at all.
How dare he?
Yes.
Right.
It was very rehearsed.
And
it was very scripted.
Me.
Yeah. And it was almost like, fine, I'll apologize for this other stuff that is actually wrong, but also I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
This whole thing with Adam is not my fault because of context, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was like kind of the extent of it. And so I was fucking mad, because I had the same thoughts then that I do now, that like, even if he was begging her for underwear, right? Even if the context did support her, you know, not doing this in a creepy way or whatever, that's still fucking inappropriate. And like, that's not an okay thing to do. So like, why are we all just like taking this at face value as like, no, okay, she apologized. Like, that's good enough. Like, hello. It felt a little bit like living in the Twilight Zone, because I was just like, why
am I the only one? Am I the one that's nuts? And like, I'm not like, am I missing a big piece of this?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know.
Because you said you saw some on Reddit, people were actually,
oh
some
my
people
God.
were seeing it for what it was.
There has been a subreddit called Colleen Ballinger Snark that I have only become aware of in the last like week or so since everything's blown up. But apparently these people have been talking about this for years, like since 2020. These people have been collecting evidence and screenshots and doing AMAs and like all, like, it's so intense, which is kind of its own other rabbit hole. I have my own feelings about snark subreddits and whatever, but there's definitely a community of people who have been like very actively aware of her misconduct, I guess, for years and years. So I don't want to diminish the backlash that Adam received, because you're right, it was like really severe. But I do feel like there are also some people who are, you know, feeling vindicated like, right now, because they've been on this side for a while.
They're like, why is nobody think that, like, why is she just getting away with all this?
Yeah, especially looking back at a lot of Colleen's old content and the Miranda Sings content, it just doesn't read as like indicative of like a good
change. And
and like, you know, that like the content that was made back then just feels like it, you know, it's not reflective of like a good grasp on boundaries or like healthy relationships with fans, and like what are okay things and not okay things to say on the internet to children, you know? Which is a weird sentence, but
it's a weird sentence. It's like, how is that even a question? Like, what is?
Well, and you were telling me about Rachel Oates, who did a book review of Colleen's book, right?
Yep.
And I feel like that's kind of that same thing, is that like when you look through that, you're like, who is this made for? Like, why did you make this?
Yes, I think that's the biggest. Yes, Colleen has 2 books. One of them called My Diary, but it's spelled like almost like diarrhea, because Miranda Sings is so dumb.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that it's also come out that Miranda Sings is allegedly based off of a family member, I think it is, that is also underage, that has developmental mental disabilities. Yeah. She based it off of that.
I haven't seen that. Jesus Christ.
I guess that's technically alleged. I think that's just like rumored, but like seems like it tracks, right? Like, it doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
I have seen a clip of her talking about the inspiration for Miranda Sings being, or at least that when she first got on YouTube back in like 2007 or something, that she started making these like parody videos of the people that she would have auditions with when she was like either in college or like auditioning for jobs or something, and that she thought it was like so cringy the way that these people would sing. And so she, like, from the very beginning, the inspiration for Miranda Sings, from her own admission, was purely to fucking make fun of people and to like be judgmental and mean, to like mock people essentially, which is an interesting take to admit publicly, but
weird at all.
Yeah.
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 But, well, I mean, that's where the ableist thing comes in from all this, is that there's been some allegations that has the character to make fun of somebody that inspired her with it, that somebody that had mental disabilities or anyway. But yeah, so her book, My Diary, and then the other book is called Self Health. Because she can't spell, like the F and the P are reversed.
Which also,
and they're both...
that's ableist in and of itself. Like, ha 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 ha, isn't it so funny to make fun of people with like,
spell.
with learning disabilities or like cognitive delays, like
literacy.
That's super funny.
Yeah, I know. Well, the whole book is just stupid. Like the whole book's, everything in it are really not funny anyway. Like even if none of this happened and I just opened this book, I'd be like, this is the dumbest book of all time.
Yeah.
And then the other like obvious issue is, like you were saying, like literally who is this for? Because it's obviously aimed at children. Like it is a children's, like it's supposed to be, I think like the original like thought was that it would be like humor that would go over kids' heads, but that kids would still like the books, but that the jokes in it would, like some of the inappropriate jokes would be also funny for adults. And it's like literally just make it for adults. Like literally just a lot of like this, the jokes are stupid, but at least the adults would know that it was satire or whatever that she was trying to make it.
Yeah.
But the thing that stuck out to me the most in Rachel Oates' videos about, and she does, if you guys want to know more about the books that she made, Rachel Oates does pretty good. She has 2 videos, one on each book, that like actually shows you the pages in the books.
Oh, that's nice.
She censors parts out that nobody wants to see, which is really nice. But she actually like, so you don't have to go buy the book or look it up. Look it up or anything. She like shows like all the stuff in it, and it's weird because it's not weird. It's just like Rachel Oates throughout both the videos, she's like, tell me if I'm being too sensitive. Like, am I the only one? Am I like being too, like, am I taking this too seriously? I feel that way too. Like, is this not as big of a deal as I'm making it out? And everybody in the comments is like, stop it. This is completely reasonable to think that this is weird. So, for example, one of the pages has a picture of her as a baby. Well, not a baby, but like she's like maybe 2 or 3. And she's sprawled
so she's
out
like a toddler.
Yeah, she's a toddler. And we think it's a picture of Colleen, but we don't know for sure. It's supposedly a picture of her in the book, or a picture of Miranda Sings as a kid. And she's like sprawled out and her underwear is showing. And it's like, and Rachel was like, there's a vagina like photoshopped onto this picture of the child. Like there's I didn't see the picture because thankfully Rachel censored it for us because she is sweet like that. But apparently there was like a line, you know, that would make it look like that over the clothes of this child who is laying down with like all their limbs out, like they're having some sort of tantrum or something like that. And then there's a big arrow pointing to that spot. And then I forget what the caption says. You'd have to go back and read.
Like, what the fuck?
Actually read it from Rachel Oates because she does put a screenshot of it on there.
Yeah.
But that's the question of who is this for? And you really think that creeps and really bad people aren't going to go seek this kind of stuff out?
Yeah. Like, hello? You literally just made content for predators.
Right.
Like, why?
There's like a page where she shows pictures of poop on toilet paper and how the way it's bizarre. Like this isn't necessarily like a immoral thing. It's just weird. It's just a very weird thing that nobody wants to see. Where she like puts poop on toilet paper and she's showing kids how to wipe. And she's like, it's just a picture of the toilet paper. And it's like got poop on, and then as you fold it, there's less and less poop, like until it's clean or whatever. Like it's weird.
That's bizarre. It feels like bizarre. Fetish content, you know?
Yeah. And like, people have speculated about that because Colleen brings up poop a lot.
That's weird. I am very uncomfortable with that.
Bizarre. Me too.
I feel like
very weird.
This is also like kind of a crossover with the live show stuff because we did talk about this yesterday too, but I think it bears repeating. The like ha ha ha, like, you know, I'm making a joke about a vagina or I'm making a joke about poop or whatever is like not actually that funny. And like, if the only way that you get laughs is by doing stuff like this, then like you're probably just not actually very funny, you know? Because we talked about this in regards to the live shows also, that like a lot of the humor there is like this kind of slapstick skit-based comedy that also relies on
ha poop, ha farts.
Yeah, well, it also relies on exploiting and mocking the audience members that she asks to participate, which, like, again, if your brand of humor is only successful when you're making fun of someone else or you're making like a cheap you know, like the poop jokes or whatever, if that's the only thing that you can get a laugh from, then like you're probably not that funny.
You're probably just not that funny. That's how I feel about comedians who make jokes about SA.
Yes.
I'm like,
that's not
you
funny.
Literally, you're the laziest comedian of all time if you can't think of anything else to make a joke about. Like if you cannot it's
time to hang up your career because it's just not very funny and it's not really working for you.
You're just not that funny. Yeah. Can we talk about Becky for a second? Yeah. Becky is another victim in this whole thing.
Yeah, this makes me so sad.
This makes me really sad too. To recap, Becky was the one who was wearing a dress to a show and she did have some spandex underneath, spandex shorts underneath her dress. But she went up. Miranda Sings does this bit at every one of her shows where she points to she brings up somebody who's dressed like Miranda Sings up on the stage, and then she brings another kid on stage. They're always like teenagers or, you know, young teenagers. And the other person is dressed normally, honestly. And then she like makes this joke about how like this is, what does she say? Like,
she says like, this is porn and then this is not, basically.
Yeah, because she's like, this is, she points to the person dressed normally and goes, this is porn, and then dresses to the other person and says this is not, if they're dressed like Colleen. So she thought she was going on stage for that bit, which she notably dressed,
like is still mocking the audience, but you don't get physically touched by Colleen
and exposed, right? So, and most people, to be fair, all the teenagers I've seen in the video of porn where they're not being touched and actually violated, they were laughing and they were like, happy to be part of the bit. It looked like, anyway. So she thought she was going on stage for that bit, and that's why she wore the dress, so that, you know, even though it was a normal outfit, she could have, then it was just, you know, she wanted to be in on the joke. But then she realized as she went on stage that she was going up for the yoga challenge, quote unquote, which involved Colleen putting her flat on her back on stage and spreading her legs out with her hands, touching her and spreading her legs out. Becky said that she saw in Colleen's face that she realized she was wearing a dress when she brought her on stage. Like, it hit Colleen that she was like, oh, you're in a dress. Oops. And was like, let's do it anyway. And just decided to do it anyway. No adults, nobody else intervened.
Which is weird. And also, just really quick, I did see Becky's TikTok where she talked about her experience with this whole thing. And I guess it wasn't a dress that she was wearing. It was a romper with like these really flowy leg holes. So like technically she did still have like pants on, I guess. Not that it makes a difference, first of all.
But was she wearing spandex underneath it still?
She said that she was wearing spandex underneath it because the romper had like really loose leg holes. You know, in like 2013, we all wore those like linen shorts that were just like flapping in the wind, and it was like really stressful. I think it was like that kind of situation. And so like technically it was not a dress, but still it is a very revealing outfit to be flat on your back and having your legs spread apart in. And so she talked about how like
as a minor,
regardless of the fact that she was wearing spandex, she was very uncomfortable with the way that her body was being manipulated by Colleen. So,
and that she felt what really hit me is that she said that she's been a victim of other SA in her life, and she said that while she's not calling that incident SA, like categorizing it as that, she said she felt the same way afterwards, which is very telling to me. And that's like, in my case, bing bang, you're done. I don't care what your excuse is. Your impact, whatever your intention was, it doesn't matter at that point. Your impact was terrible. But then the whole bit too was that then Colleen, while her legs were spread, she like plays a fart sound effect. So it looks, and then Colleen like walks like, or Miranda goes away in disgust. And like Becky also said that then men were looking at her very differently after that. And after the show, she was being stared at in a creepy manner by older men.
Which is so sad.
And she just felt objectified, I think, is what it seemed like. Just very used and objectified and gross. And I think, and I told you this too, but I think, again, like taking away how wrong and it was to exploit her body like that and sexualize her like that, even if none of that happened, I still feel like that's a mean bit to...
Yes.
To make a young person make it look like they farted in front of an entire audience is so cruel to me, because like if that, like teenagers are mortified about bodily functions and stuff. Like they are not, I mean, we all kind of are, honestly, like we're all still like ashamed of it in our society. But like as teenagers, if you farted in front of your friends, you would be absolutely mortified. And to put a young person on stage who like doesn't know who they are yet, like they're just like going through puberty and everything, and then to make it like a joke out of them farting in front of it, that's in itself, I think that's enough to be like, what the fuck? What were you thinking? And so adding on that on top of being objectified, people need to stop minimizing this.
Yeah, because the other thing that sticks out to me about this is that this interaction, besides the fact that it's like ill-advised and inappropriate and just generally a fucking weird take to want to physically manipulate the bodies of minors on stage for your live show, why does Colleen derive any joy or think that it's funny to humiliate the people that worship her? Why is that funny to her?
Yeah.
That's a fucking red flag.
Very funny to her.
You know, like that's fucking
hilarious.
weird. And I think it also speaks to this, like what we're seeing, this emerging pattern of her behavior and like this picture of her character, because a lot of the actions that she's been accused of have been described as cruel and like taking advantage of people. It really does, like when you put all of this together, like side by side, it starts to look like the picture of a person who enjoys inflicting cruelty onto other people and humiliating other people to make herself feel big and important, which is just like none of that is good,
power,
but especially not so when we talk about the fact that like the majority of her fan base is minors and she's directly interacting with those people, you know? Just like all fucking red flags.
I did see Philip DeFranco talk about yesterday that her the next show did get canceled for unforeseen circumstances is what they called it, but the rest of her shows are still on the books as of now. But it'll be interesting to see if they might get canceled, though. I mean, it would be very interesting to see. That's
an interesting move to not cancel them all in one go. Like, what the fuck? Is the expectation that if she's like up to it, that she's gonna go fucking perform?
I don't know. Okay. I mean, maybe if you're Colleen, you have the confidence, but I cannot imagine going into a stage like I know everybody who buys a ticket still likes her, but I cannot believe somebody wouldn't go already have a ticket and then get mad about what happened and be rightfully upset and then go in there and heckle and I mean perhaps like charge on stage and shout at her for being a terrible person or something like that. Like it just seems like I would be shocked if she continues to have shows after.
Me too. It feels really fucking tone deaf. Like, yes, please pay me money to continue doing the thing that multiple people have already accused me of doing, which traumatized them. What? Accountability nowhere to be found.
But she doesn't, to her, they're not traumatized. To her, she cannot see, she lacks the empathy to see that she hurt people. That's the thing. She thinks this is just all her non-apology. Let's talk about her non-apology, because that shows, that is definitive proof that all she just sees herself as the victim, and we are all just finding somebody to cancel because we like dogpiling, and that it's wild. So fun. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's like not ridiculous cancel culture crap out there.
Sure.
But this is not part of it.
No.
So let's talk about her non-apology song.
Yeah.
Can I read our texts?
Oh, yes. Yeah, please do.
So you guys,
I thought it was hilarious that we found out about it at the exact same time.
We found out about this at the exact same time. And our text messages back and forth were so funny. I texted Mickey on June 28th at 2:38 p.m. And I was like, Colleen Ballinger posted a response video, completely speechless. Like, never have I ever been this speechless. And then you, in all caps, I literally just sent it to Aaron. I am flabbergasted. Oh. Also, low key. Oh, sorry. I keep starting to read it. That was a text about VidCon.
We were talking about
something
VidCon.
next year, like that. And I said out loud, wait, no, surely she wouldn't. That was my reaction as she picked up the ukulele and didn't immediately put it back down. Mm-hmm. And then you were like, but also it is also so long. What the fuck? And I was like, my jaw will not close.
Yeah.
What in the sing song treat us like infants' audacity?
Yeah. Just what the fuck, man.
I think that was most people's reaction to it.
Yeah.
But it was just like the pure shock of her picking up a ukulele. I thought for sure maybe she was gonna, okay, this is bad, maybe she'll sing a 2-minute song and then she'll put it down and actually address everything. Nope. And then I fast forwarded the video and no, it was 10 straight minutes
of ukulele. When I first saw it, I saw a clip of it on TikTok. And so someone was like, oh my gosh, like this is not real. And TikTok is very memey. So I was like, oh, someone took one of her other shitty ukulele songs and is just like editing it to make it look like this is her response to this whole situation. Like, surely that's not what this is. And then I watched more of it and I was like, oh my God. I was literally making soup at the time this was happening. And I just stopped what I was doing. It was just holding a spoon in one hand and my phone in the other, being like, what the fucking fuck is going on? Like I couldn't look away from my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Just blown the fuck away.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about like what are your thoughts on the apology video as a whole though?
I talk about this a little bit in my main channel video, but I do feel like she was really under the impression that she could just victimize herself so effectively that people would feel bad for her. You know, I think she is so lost in this perspective of like, I am at the center of everything always, that she really was under the impression that she could use this like the oldest, most played out, most predictable move from the manipulator handbook and that it would work, you know, like, and which also the hubris of that is just fascinating. Impressive. To me. I want to live my life with just a shred of that confidence and self-assurance to be so diluted that like, surely this will work. But I don't know. What are your thoughts about it?
That same thing where it's just like, now I'm just a martyr for all the other victims of cancel culture. Yeah. And that's what she's made herself into. And the I am the victim here. I mean, that response just shows a very heavy lack of empathy. Because as a true crime person, obviously, like my main channel being a lot about that, is like you see over and over in true crime stories people that lack empathy so much that they kill people go on the stand, and almost very frequently in their court appearances or trials, when they get to talk, they focus on how this is all affecting them and how this whole thing happened to them. I just did a Patreon video about a teenager who killed another child, and years later she's in prison for life or whatever, and years later she like writes this email to a media outlet talking about how she hopes everybody could be on her side, but you know, I know that probably won't happen, but still I just want to really help things like this not to happen in the future, for a situation like this not to happen in the future, for a situation like this to not happen to anybody else in the future. What situation like as if this happened to her.
Yeah, not that she was the perpetrator in this
and
equation.
Not that she did it. And so many, you will find over and over, that's a huge pattern in true crime. If it's people that are killing because of a lack of empathy or something lacking in that manner, lack of compassion, lack of whatever you want to call it, it's often why this is affecting me, feels so bad for me. And it's very much that disconnect of, I literally cannot understand why you guys are so upset about what I did. It feels like you're just being mean to me. Like, why are you just being mean to me? I am not, of course, comparing Colleen to a violent person. I'm not saying that she's ever done anything like that, but the parallels of it's not the act, it's the lack of empathy part.
Yeah, it's the response.
It's the response.
I think you're right.
It makes me feel like she lacks empathy.
Well, I think she really views herself as this like hero against cancel culture. I wonder if that's also potentially why she sent it to Trisha Paytas, and probably, let's be honest, she sent it probably to other influencers also. This like attitude of like, look at me standing up to these bullies on the internet. Like it feels like she views herself as like, I'll be vindicated one day against these unreasonable people, and like that's not at all what's happening. I talk about that a little bit actually in my main channel video too, because when we talk about like successful conflict resolution in relationships, it's normal for people to not understand, at least initially, why the thing that I did caused you hurt, right? Just having behaved in a way that causes harm is not an indicator that your relationship is unhealthy. Necessarily. The problem is when we refuse to make an effort to understand your perspective about why what I did hurt you. In like a good fucking relationship or like a healthy relationship, you should at least be willing to try like a little bit to understand like, maybe I didn't see it this way. Clearly they do. I trust you. I care about you. I'm going to take you at face value that you're telling me the truth, that you are really hurt, you know? And so like, I'm going to do some investigating to understand why. And like that attitude is just completely absent from the way that she's responded to this. Like there really seems to be zero intent to be empathic, to try to understand, just like no care about the way that she's impacted other people. There's like such a significant lack of compassion. And I think it really comes through in the way that she talks about it, because it just feels like condescending, you know? It just like provokes, if at least for me, it's like an immediate feeling of like ick in the way that she talks about it. Did you have that experience also?
Can you? Yes, absolutely. Oh, just like the whole like, this is all misinformation. This is all misinformation. You guys don't know anything. You're all confused.
Yes.
But I'm not going to show you any proof to contradict any of the allegations. Yeah. You should just believe me that you're being brainwashed by cancel culture.
Yeah.
Could you please speak to I tweeted about this actually when it happened. But I find a lot of people do this in apologies, and you've talked about this on other apology videos on your channel about how people will often say, well, I'm not perfect. Like, yeah, I've made mistakes and I'm not a perfect person. And can you explain why that's not great in an apology? Like what the whole, like, I'm imperfect. Why the implications of that.
I do also talk about that in my main channel video, so I'll just give you like an abridged version because it takes me a long time to explain it also. But generally speaking, I think most people accept that we're not perfect. Like this sort of defense of like, oh, I'm imperfect. Like, yeah, fucking everybody is. Like we all know that. That's not like a surprise to anybody. And so like it's kind of useless to offer that as a defense because like duh. Right. But B, it's this like reductionist sort of like wave it all away attitude that like 9 times out of 10 is just going to convey invalidation to the person that you're trying to apologize to or the person that you've hurt, you know? Just saying like, oh, well, I'm imperfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Moving on. Like, thanks. Like, that's not at all making an effort to understand me, to repair this, to like, you know, invest with me in, you know, like there's a wonderful reframe in the therapy world about how conflict in relationships is actually a good thing, or like can be a healthy thing anyways. Because being willing to sit through conflict with someone is essentially you communicating that I care about you enough to have this uncomfortable conversation. You know, no one wants to sit through conflict resolution because it sucks. But being willing to honor that, like, yes, I am imperfect. And also, you know, I still fucked this up. And so, like, you're worth it to me. Our relationship is worth it to me to, like, trudge through the mud with this, like, uncomfortable conversation. Because I want you to feel seen, right? Like, that's also part of it, is that in a relationship, we should want the person that we care about to feel seen, to feel cared for, you know? It doesn't matter if you're imperfect. Like, everybody is. And also everyone knows that already. But, like, make an effort, man.
That's what stood out to me the most about how she kept, that was her defense, basically, is like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you guys were all perfect. That's literally what she says in the video. Yeah. Like, yeah, I've made mistakes. Yes. Like you said, like, duh.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nobody's claiming that they are perfect, Colleen.
Yes.
Nobody said that. You are putting words in people's. Nobody said that. It's deflection.
Yes.
It's like, it's deflection and it misses the point. Yes. And a lot of people have been telling her that, but like.
Well, and that's the problem is that
in the end, she's like, I never had any bad intentions, for what it's worth.
Like, who cares?
We don't give a shit.
That doesn't matter.
First of all, yeah, you did, even if you don't think so. Yeah. And second of all, it doesn't fucking matter. Yes. You hurt people.
Yeah. And I think
you hurt a lot of people.
That's the problem, though, is that, like, she's deflecting from the point here, but, like, it comes across as her deflecting in a willful and intentional way, which is, again, one of the oldest and most predictable moves from the manipulator handbook, that, like, I'm just going to get both of us lost in this conversation about things that you never said and that you don't actually care about, so that we can just go down this rabbit trail of me forcing you to validate our reality, or forcing you to convince me that we live in the same reality, so that now by the end of this conversation, you're fucking exhausted. You have absolutely exhausted all of your emotional energy for today. And so you don't have the space to try to hold me accountable, because I've distracted you and deflected and, like, we've completely diverged from, like, the whole point of this conversation. That's why, like,
different.
People who are being manipulated and being abused often walk away from conflict resolution feeling like, what the fuck? Like, we just talked about that for like an hour, 2 hours, and I don't feel any fucking better. If anything, I feel worse at the end of this, because we didn't talk about anything and they didn't validate any of my experience at all. It really comes across as, like, her doing that on purpose in this video, which is obviously bothersome.
I just can't believe that she thought that this, and then just the end, like, but what do I know? Fuck me, right?
Oh, that made me so mad.
The victimization of herself, of just like, you guys are so mean to me. Like, why are you guys so mean?
Which is crazy.
It's confusing.
So, okay, big question, Hannah. What do you think is going to happen? I've seen a lot of people talk about how, like, oh, she's done. Like, it's all over for her. Okay, same.
I think she's going to disappear for a couple months and she's going to pull a Shane Dawson. Except I don't think she's going to address, like, Shane Dawson tried to, like, make a video about, like, his accountability or whatever when he came back. And I don't think she's going to do that. I think she's going to go back. I noticed she made this on her vlog channel, on her smaller channel.
Yes.
And not her main channel, too. Hoping that it wouldn't blow up.
Yeah. Straight out of Dr. Mike's handbook.
That's also something common that we see with influencers. And I think she's going to disappear for a couple months, hope that somebody else has been canceled by then so that the heat is off of her. And then she's going to go back to vlogging. And I don't think she'll bring back Miranda Sings, because I don't think she'll keep doing shows, but I think she is still perfectly capable of getting at least a few 100,000, if not 1 million views on her videos, because there's still going to be a niche group of people that don't give a shit.
And also the hate watchers and the morbid curiosity people.
And and all that. And she's going to lose money, but she's also, like we talked about, we said this yesterday, but her net worth is 12 million. She's fine.
Yes, don't feel bad for her.
Don't feel bad for her. So she'll, like, lose some money. She's not going to make as much because her views are going to go down, but she's still going to make not as much in a YouTuber world where you have multi-million subscriber channels is still a shit ton of money and more money than most people see.
Yes.
So
there is not a reality in which she can't afford her fucking bills or like afford to provide for her family because of this. Like that's not real. And that's also the reason that this whole like cancel culture thing pushes my goddamn buttons, because like we talked about this yesterday. I think most influencers, like our worst fear is having the entire internet hate our guts, right? Like that's terrifying. And especially the idea that like the whole fucking internet hates my guts because I hurt a bunch of people. Like that makes me sick to my stomach.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the like, this is ruining my life thing is just not real. Like I'm sorry.
It's just not true.
You're entitled to feel how you feel, to call this a traumatic experience, to need your own time to emotionally process what a mindfuck it is to have this happen to you. Absolutely. But to insinuate that this is going to wreck your financial stability or your ability to make money from the internet in the future is just disingenuous. That's not real.
Bullshit.
Like that's not going to be her reality. I think you're right. I think she's going to lay low for a few months. She'll probably finish out her fucking tour and then keep making her exploitative family vlogs where she puts her kids on the internet without their consent and just move along like nothing happened. And all of the very loyal followers of her will just...
I think she will try to stay out of the limelight. Like I said, I don't think she's going to bring Miranda Sings back. I think she's going to just like delete Miranda Sings and then hope that new viewers will eventually find her vlog channel without knowing the other controversy.
My God.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I wonder if she'll try to like push this all off as like, oh, Miranda Sings was like a character that I made up and I just like, you know, I got lost. I, you know, didn't hold firm to my real values and like I was chasing clicks and views. And so, you know, I just got lost in the sauce and, you know, I'm not doing Miranda anymore. And so therefore everything is better and it's all fine now.
She'll make subtle jokes about it in the future, I'm sure. She'll make jokes about how she's a terrible person.
Distasteful, but you're right. Oh my God. She's going to make
Shane
shitty
Dawson does that too.
Backhanded comments about it in her vlogs. Oh, yikes.
I want to go back to something you said, though, about us being, you know, about content creators being like, that is our worst fear of the whole internet hating us. And that is really scary. And, you know, I think, I guess, do we have to keep saying we talked about this yesterday? Because they don't care, because they haven't heard us.
They're like, get on with it.
Get on with it. That I think it's just really important to note that, we are just inherently scared of that because that is the worst case scenario for a content creator. I mean, that is the worst case scenario is that you do something, you hurt a group of people and whether you meant to or not, people are understandably mad. But I think there is a difference between, do we have a pattern of racism in our past, though? No. Do we have anything that people could dig up in our old tweets that are racist? No. They don't. And
I don't even fucking use Twitter, man.
Exactly. And we were, you know, drama is fuzzy lipsticks. Drama is promoting a different brand of gummies
than your
friend's gummy, like James Charles did to I keep wanting to call her Laura Lee.
Tati Westbrook.
Like, that's drama. Like, that is drama. This is not drama. This is actual serious allegations and crimes. Like, Colleen, I mean, if somebody wanted to, like, there is a possibility she could, she should, but I don't think she will, but she could go to jail for sending PORN to underaged people. That is a crime.
It's a federal offense.
And that, regardless of the fact that it's just a terrible thing to do. And I just think that we have to remember that most stuff, like the most likely thing to happen to us is like some happened to us. See, I even did it. Is that like the biggest chance that we would make a genuine mistake, like something akin to fuzzy lipsticks or something. But we would be able to genuinely see what we did wrong and make amends for it. And I think that also begs the question of a lot of people defending Colleen says, well, there's nothing she could have said. Everybody would have hated her no matter what she said.
That makes me so mad.
And I would just like to say that's not true. There is something she could have done.
Yes.
That would have made it better. And it could have been instead of a 10-minute long song, she could have made a 1 to 2 minute video tops, saying, this stuff has come to light about my past and some things closer to the present.
Yeah.
I'm really, really sorry. These things that I did were not okay. And I'm so sorry for the victims. I understand if you don't forgive me, but I do want you to know that I realize I hurt you and I'm sorry. I'm going to take a break from the internet so I can get the help that I need, because obviously I need therapy and other forms of help for these creepy things I've done. And I'm also going to donate this large amount of money from my fortune to these nonprofits that are there to protect and help children in in a similar situation that I put them in.
Yeah, like internet
to
exploitation,
try to make amends.
Essentially. Yeah.
That's it. See, Colleen, I did it for you. It took me 30 seconds.
Literally. There was actually a PR like professional or whatever talking about how like Colleen probably would never do this because it's an expensive solution, but like she outlined steps that were like almost exactly what you just said about how like, you know, making a effective apology in this case is expensive and will put a lot of the onus on Colleen, but like it's possible to do. And another thing that I think is important to talk about here is that regardless of whether the internet was going to accept Colleen's apology or not, it's still a fucking dick move to not make one anyways, because the point of apologizing is not to soothe our own ego. It's not for us, right? Like it's already fucking been about you when you hurt someone else. So the whole point
not to get uncanceled.
Yes, the whole point of an apology is to come from this genuine place of empathy and understanding for how you've hurt someone and to try to make amends, to try to offer a repair attempt, even if someone doesn't take it, just because it's the kind thing to do, it's the integrity thing to do, and it's the only thing you can do to repair that relationship in any capacity. So her just like blatantly throwing up her hands and like refusing to do this, to me, demonstrates a willful lack of desire to repair any of the harm that she's caused. Because again, whether the internet accepted it or not, it's not up for her. That's not the burden that we're supposed to bear in making an apology. We can't control that. Our piece of the bargain is to just try from a genuine place. That's all you have to do. And she wasn't even willing to do that.
Because it's like you said, I think that's really important that a lot of people are missing, is that it's not about your apology is not about you.
Yes.
It's not about you trying to save face and save your career. It's about actually, and because you have to do it public because you're a public figure.
Yes.
Like that, that just goes with it. Like you can't just make private, I mean, you can do private apologies, but you need to make a public apology too, to like, you know.
Clear the
air. I mean, and I just say, yes, I do understand where those people are coming from in the sense that, okay, I'm donating $1 million to this organization. I'm going to therapy and a rehab center for whatever, you know, I'm doing this and this, and I'm genuinely apologizing. Are some people still gonna hate you no matter what and not think that's enough?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because these are indefensible actions.
Right. That is not the point. And I think if she did all that stuff and it actually came from a genuine place, she probably could come back and have a redemption arc, essentially, you know, especially if her victims chose to forgive her, or at least appreciate if they do, like, you know, which they have every right not to, but like she could have a redemption arc here. And yes, some people will always hate her. Yeah. A lot of people will but the vast majority of people would be like, oh, the victims responded, okay, you like tried to repair some of the damage, and I don't really care for you now, but hey, I'm not pissed. Like, I'm not I feel like you at least took some accountability, and I just, you know, it almost looked like Logan Paul was going to have a redemption arc for a while there. Until his whole crypto zoo scam came to light. But I don't know if you know about that. But you remember, I'm pretty sure it was Logan that did the Japanese forest shenanigan. Yeah. And a lot of people thought he was so close to like separating himself from it for years, getting out of the limelight and like making himself working really hard at being a better person, and seeing why that was so terrible of him to do. But then of course we were like, that of course he's scamming people. Hope's still dashed. But I'm just saying, like, it is
it's possible in theory
to do the right thing.
Well, and also
but you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Yes, I think the fact that Colleen seems to, based on her behavior, just not care at all about what the right thing to do is.
She doesn't. No.
Is like very telling about her character, especially again in concert with all of the allegations that have come out. It really
doesn't give a shit.
It doesn't paint a favorable picture of a person who has genuine care or concern for the well-being of others. It's just,
and like I said, she thinks those kids that she hurt, she thinks they're just doing it for clout. They think that they're literally just doing it because they want their 15 minutes of it's mind-blowing. But yeah, no,
to be so self-obsessed that you can't look past the end of your own nose even for a minute to validate the trauma of other people's.
A victim comes out about their trauma is also just like
red flag.
Because I see a lot of people really pissed at Adam for being like, he's just doing this to get subscribers and to get blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that this is not the way most people want to get subscribers.
No.
Like, I'm pretty sure going through this torture of having years where the entire internet, he felt like the entire internet hated him.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that wasn't like, yay. Like,
but also,
at least from what he's shown us, his character is not like that.
Maybe this is an unpopular opinion or a hot take, but so what if he is? So what if he is?
I know.
His trauma is still genuine. Those accusations are still credible. That doesn't erase the negative emotional impact that this has had on his life. And so what? If this is like a fame grab for him in some capacity, or his like motivations are at least partially about that, like that doesn't make the trauma not real. That doesn't erase the fact that Colleen still victimized him.
And like, honestly, he deserves
I know. Maybe he just wants to fucking get something good out of this absolute shit sandwich of a situation. Like,
exactly. He deserves to get something out of this.
Yeah.
Especially because Colleen's not going to do shit to give him closure or to feel any sort of remorse. So maybe it's good he's getting built. I mean, his channel has blown up. He was in the 200s for a long time, and he like has over 300,000 subscribers now.
Wow.
And he makes videos. He makes videos about commentary and stuff like that. And he does, like, from what I know, a great job. I haven't watched his other stuff.
Yeah,
but,
I've
like,
never really looked at his channel.
I think that's a really great point. It's like, so what? That's good for him then, because he's dealt with so much. He has paid his terrible internet dues of having people probably threaten the crap out of him. And
if you disagree with like that perspective or like that choice, right? Like, disagree with that, but that doesn't give you the right to negate his traumatic experiences or to insist that his trauma is invalid. Like, that's not true. You can honor the validity of somebody's traumatic experiences and also say that, like, I personally don't agree with the way you're handling it, but also you're entitled to your own time and feelings and space about how you're dealing with trauma on your own time, right? Like, that's possible.
Kind of another form of tone policing to like police the way victims, some victims of SA will not say anything. Some are going to go to the police. Others are going to tell their friends. Some people
all of
might
them are
make a video
completely
about
valid
their
options.
Experience. And all of those are valid, and they're all understandable. And like saying that they shouldn't be making it public feels very much like those people that are like, well, why didn't you go to the police when this happened to you? Like, it feels very much like that.
Feels very victim blamey.
Oh, all right. We didn't even get into Cody, but I don't think
that's okay.
That's okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh man. All right. I think we should wrap it up.
I think we should too. Thanks for being here, everybody, for our very unfiltered thoughts about this whole thing.
Yeah, and I also just want to remind everybody that typically our podcast is not about this.
Yes.
We also want this to be a fun, not such a touchy, like traumatic
heavy
podcast. It's just that we couldn't not talk about this. I think it's been really heavy on our minds, and it's just been, we had a lot of just like human feelings about it that we needed to get out. And so I just appreciate everybody being here because we won't, our podcast next week, we have some really fun, lighthearted, silly, but really excited. Interesting topics to talk to you about.
Yeah. So, thanks for hanging in there with us this week. We do talk about fun and lighthearted stuff. So we'll see you next week for that.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. And leave us 5-star reviews if you like the pod.
Please. Yay.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.